According to the federal census records, in 2015 there were 47.8 million people ages 65 and older in America. That number is projected to reach around 100 million by 2060. During the same year, there were 4.6 million men and 3.7 million women of the similar age working. As time moves forward, so does advancements in medicine, which in turn prolongs life for everyone around the globe. In fact, in 1960, the average life expectancy was around 70 years compared to 2016, where the average was almost 80. While this is amazing and something we'll likely see continue to grow, it's also becoming an increasing issue when it involves operating motor vehicles. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention lists on their website about motor vehicle safety that nearly 42 million, or close to 90% of the elderly population, are licensed drivers. In 2016, roughly 7,500 elderly were killed and more than 290,000 were treated in emergency departments. To put it in terms that are more easily relatable, that's about 20 killed and about 800 injured every single day. There are no laws that state at a certain age you're required to retake a driving exam. You only have to pass a vision test when you renew your license, which in Ohio, where I live, is every 4 years. You only have to take a driving exam once before you get your license, which around here is between 16 and 18 years of age. Depending if you're a minor or not, you might be required to take a written portion along with a driving portion, which you have to accumulate so many road hours before taking a final test with an instructor. Some tests are harder than others depending on your location, and it's also in a vehicle of your choice, whereas I think it should be required to at least drive in a city and out in the country, and also use a manual vehicle. Vision tests are only done every 4 years in the state of Ohio, where it's required to renew your license. Your vision can decrease at a rapid pace, especially when you become older. Vision alone isn't what makes you a competent driver. There are a lot of other factors in play, such as reaction time, proper use of signals, and understanding of road conditions and laws. The ability to obtain and hold a license does not depend on how often you drive either. So what I mean by that is there are no requirements of how many hours per month or year that you need in order to hold on to your license. There are no requirements on keeping up to date with laws that change to better protect drivers and civilians that either walk along the roads or maybe they ride their bikes. As we grow older, physical and mental conditions become increasingly worse. When it comes to physical ability, the older we get, the less our reaction time becomes. Driving requires you to be extremely observant to your surroundings and the ability to react at a moment's notice, especially when you're traveling at higher speeds. The elderly is more prone to physical weaknesses such as gripping, grabbing of the steering wheel, hearing, and field of view. Mental stability comes into play as we get older as well. Again, reaction time is critical when driving. The older someone is, the longer it may take for their nervous system to work accordingly, which allows them to stop within a reasonable amount of time or making decisions that could save or cost lives. Doctors should work better with the DMV to help provide safer conditions on the road for everyone. If a condition is discovered that could severely influence how the person operates a vehicle, then they should be required to inform the DMV. Diseases are something that are likely to occur as we age and can impact not just driving, but our way of life. There are several physical and mental conditions that can occur which impact how we live, but the more severe ones, such as rapid vision loss, memory loss, and numbness, should be highly observed, documented, and reported properly. While medicine has increased our life expectancy, it doesn't cure us of all the diseases and issues that can happen as our bodies age. The population is growing every day. Cities and towns are increasing as more traffic becomes congested on the roads. While there are an estimated 151,600 deaths in the U.S. every day, there are 360,000 births. This means that our population is nearly doubling every single day. Due to the increasing population, this means that more people are on the roads, both young and especially old. More elderly is driving every day on the roads that are increasingly becoming more populated, which is going to result in a higher number of casualties and injuries. The elderly is not as efficient as they used to be in their younger years. Well, there are still people nonetheless, meaning, millions are still working every day to help provide and support for families. They are not required to do anything special to help prevent unnecessary accidents. The elderly is also more frail, such as their bone density is far less than that of a 30-year-old. In fact, a high number of elderlies who are injured in car accidents was because of seatbelts. Elderly citizens should be required to retake a driver's exam at the age of 65 and every 4 years after that before renewing their license. Also, physical and mental evaluations should be required at the same time and documented to the DMV for support. While this may seem like it's taking away rights that citizens have had for most of their lives, it's more to help save lives than to hurt them. A lot of older people deny that their state of being is declining. They become stubborn and they risk injuring, people and themselves simply because they don't want to give up their rights to drive. The elderly who are unable to drive themselves should have access to programs funded by the government that gets them to where they need to go whenever they need to. An example of this would be a transportation shuttle scheduled typically by appointments that are free of charge for people 65 and up who have had their license revoked because of aging and medical reasons. Growing old is something no one can avoid, but saving lives by not being on the road when you shouldn't be, when you shouldn't be driving in the first place, is something that can be avoided. In order to do so, conditions are going to have to be made and requirements need to change. Whether we get physically weaker or our mind becomes more unstable throughout the years, we need to be understanding and not so stubborn when it comes to being on the road. For instance, when I was a pharmacy technician and inventory specialist for CVS, I encountered a lot of elderly through the drive-thru window. One time there was a frequent customer who pulled up to the window. After I got her medicine and came back, she was passed out at the wheel. I had to practically yell at her to get her to wake up, and when she did, she apologized, and she just said that she was extremely tired. I told her, you need to go home, and you need to not be driving. Thankfully she was stopped and she was in park, but the point of that story was, what if she was driving through town or on the highway, going 60 or 70 miles an hour? More than likely she would have been killed or she could have seriously harmed other people. I'm not trying to persuade people into taking away rights that others have had for decades, but the DMV needs to act and enforce rules that test the elderly when it comes to operating a motor vehicle. There are already federal programs that assist many people, so there could be one more implemented that helps these people that have had their license revoked due to medical reasons and aging, and it would be free of charge, so it wouldn't be too inconvenient for them to get around either for work or grocery shop or appointments even, whatever they needed to do. Regardless, something needs to change. Thank you.